This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Pod, the show for the week of February 20th, 2023. We got a star-studded cast today. We've got Zach back. Phil is on assignment, a.k.a. he's on vacation with his family. He'll be back next week. But Zach has graced us with his presence to fill in and have a conversation this week about everything that's going on. This week we're going to discuss a hologram Walt Disney and some of the reactions we saw online from that. Our takes on the top 10 Disney songs according to Billboard.com. This goes all the way back, not just like the last decade or something else like that. We're also going to discuss what might be a good plan for a full 2-day vacation. Basically, you're just at the world for 2 days. What do you do? And the top 3 places where we like to sit and eat a snack at Walt Disney World. So some of these things are going to be interesting to kind of go on about. That being said, Zach, thanks for coming on. How you been, buddy?
I've been good. Thank you for having me once again. It's great to be back. It's been a while.
I gotta guess the last time you were on was in November of last year, somewhere in that time frame. October,
Yeah,
November.
Sounds about
like
right. Yeah.
It's been too long. I don't like it, but we have corrected it. Finally, here we are. I'm going to attempt to do the news today, so figuring out what everybody's talking about in our Disney World. One of the first stories that kind of popped up, a lot of there's news about the negotiations with the cast members and the union. Not all very interesting to talk about on a podcast because, unfortunately, nothing's happening. So with nothing happening, there's nothing really to talk about at this point. But one thing that people were bringing up earlier in the week was they showed off the Walt Disney hologram at the Disney 100 exhibition. It's going up not too far away from me at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. I plan on attempting to get up there when I can get away. My next 30 or 40 days looks very busy, but we'll see what we can do. And one of the things that was going around and people were discussing whether or not it's appropriate, because this has happened with like Princess Leia in the Star Wars movies and everybody else kind of being like digitally added in after their unfortunate passing. And so Zach, what is your take? I thought it would look cool, but what are your general feelings on it?
I thought it looked cool. I'm definitely very much interested to see it. I actually had some friends there yesterday for its very first day, so I kind of got to see some videos that they were posting and pictures and some of the items that were there. And it definitely seemed very, very cool. Very excited. I should hopefully get up there to see it. Hopefully in August. I'll be making my way up north a little bit, so that should be fun. As it's definitely going to be in Philadelphia, I think, for quite some time.
I didn't know what it ended, but I know it started. We're recording this on the 19th. So yesterday was the Saturday. It was the first day that was open to the public. I think it's great. I think Walt himself would think it's really cool that, he could be a showman for, the next 100 years, so to speak. And I don't think he would mind his image being used for something like this. I think he'd be totally for it because he was always looking to the future.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening and not watching, Zach's nodding his head vigorously as I go on about this. So there's people that are just kind of guessing, and some people think it's creepy. I thought it looked fantastic. I think he used a bit of his own audio recordings, cleaned up a little bit, and his facial expressions were pretty awesome. So I kind of dug it. And the next thing that everybody's talking about is continuing to talk about is Tron. The screenings are still going on. I know this week the annual pass and DVC members got a chance to get on the list to check it out. Zach, did those start yet, or are they just still on the list to start? I didn't check in on that one. Do you know off the top of your head?
I know annual pass and DVC previews are starting the first week of March, towards the end of that first week of March. Signups happened, I believe. Both sold out already. I know annual pass holder previews sold out by I think 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. on the day that it became available. I don't know if DVC is still available. I know they were more minimal. I think they only have 3 days. Cast member previews are happening still through the first week of March, or a couple of days into March at least. So some exciting times. I've actually had the opportunity already to ride it, and have another opportunity coming up in about a week.
That's
Very
awesome.
excited about that.
What was your first impression of just the ride itself? You got on. I don't know if you want to mention about the comfort of the vehicle, because that was the whole thing everybody was talking about a week and a half ago when cast members started previewing it. Did you have any issue getting on, or what's the main story about that from your
Really
point of view?
quick, do you want spoilers? Do you not want spoilers? How do you
I,
want this to go, Jason?
I think we could do spoilers, right? I mean, it's an attraction that's been out quite some time, so you're able to watch it overseas on YouTube videos. I don't think you're
True,
surprising
over in
anybody with this one,
Shanghai.
right? So, but if you care about spoilers, fast forward 5 minutes or so, and then
Sure.
we'll get on with the rest of the show. But spoilers, I'm okay with.
So I am a rather tall person. Jason finally got to see me and meet me,
Yes.
and probably knows exactly now how tall I am. And a lot of my height is in my legs. So I was very nervous with the beginning reports coming out from the initial Magic Kingdom cast previews, and people kind of posting a little bit with that. Um, and it was kind of borderline with my height, where people were saying I would have an issue, I may not have an issue. So I did the test seat on the day I went, and fit fine. The cast members, they were like, "You should be good to go," and I was like, "Yay!" So I get to the load area, and it's very much, it's like Flight of Passage, but it's not. At
Mm-hmm.
least the getting into the vehicle, um, it's going to be a lot like you are riding a motorcycle, and the back part of the seat definitely feels weird because you're going to be like forward a little bit. For those of
Right.
you watching, I'm definitely demonstrating this.
Yeah,
here.
he's leaning forward, guys.
But I know the issue that are determining if people can ride or can't is the leg restraint, right around the calves area that kind of meets up kind of where the turn of the legs where the knee is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're definitely it's going to feel odd. My initial thoughts were, I don't feel secure, but you are secure.
You're not getting out of that thing from what I've seen.
Exactly, but it's just going to be like the back restraint. It's like Flight of Passage, but it's different.
Well, I mean, like, do you get a sense that you're really like on a motorbike with no restraints and you get that sense of like danger as you're going through it, or do you feel like you're like clapped into this ride vehicle?
I feel clapped in around the legs.
Okay.
The back definitely has a little more room, as you are kind of able to sit up a little bit, stay laying forward. But yeah.
So what do you think about the actual ride itself? Okay, you're in, you feel comfortable, you're happy, and then boom, you go. You're at 59 miles an hour. So what's all that like? What is it? Is it a good ride overall? Addition to the Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, it's definitely a great ride. Magic Kingdom, I think, has been in need of
Mm-hmm.
another ride like this. Definitely the fastest attraction, I think, in Magic Kingdom now will go to Tron. So you go. The first time I actually got to ride it was at night. I was very much wanting to make sure I rode it at night first,
Mm-hmm.
since watching it get built and finally seeing the lights turn on, I've been like, I need to ride this ride at night first. So ride starts going, kind of get to the launch area, and you're ready to go. You're sitting, feeling like you're on the grid, and all of a sudden it just shoots off, and the launch definitely went faster than I was expecting it to. I was not expecting how fast the ride actually went. I tried to not go in with as many spoilers. But as soon as you launch and you go underneath that canopy, especially at night, it was breathtaking. It goes by very fast,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I mean, like a lot of the talk is about its duration, right? It's like 59 seconds. I mean, somebody measured it right around a minute, depending on where you start, where you finish.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is all the ride previews that you see, whether it was released by Disney Parks or somebody wearing like, a chest harness with a camera on it, or somebody just taking a picture from underneath the canopy, it doesn't look fast because of perspective and context, right? But you can't get a true sense of its speed until you actually go on it and you're launched at that speed and get a good sense of all the lights around you. So from what I've heard from a lot of people, and tell me if I'm wrong, is like the only way to really get the experience and is obvious to do it. And the all the videos don't do it enough justice, I think, from what I'm hearing. Is that true?
Yeah, so the launch, in my opinion, is the best part of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get inside the show building, you have different effects going on the walls, like Guardians of the Galaxy, but more.
Hmm.
There's definitely more going on. The coaster slows down quite a bit once you get into the show building. It's definitely not as fast as you first start with the launch. But yeah, with the duration, I initially thought it was short. I'm excited to ride it more over the coming weeks to really gauge how I feel with the duration of it. I have a friend that rode it yesterday, and he thought that the duration was fine and thought it was one of the best coasters he's ever been on. Um, and then there's me, who I thought it was short, but it was cool. Great addition to Magic Kingdom.
Well,
In my
let me ask you. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Let finish up.
really quick, kind of with the duration, I would gauge it to maybe being a little bit shorter than actually Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, or maybe along the duration of Peter Pan's flight.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've got 2 points, or a point and a question for you. The first point is, it seems that the only people that are complaining about the ride vehicle and the duration and everything else are the people that haven't rode it, and the people that are actually have read it are all, for the most part, praising it for it just being a fun attraction. So my question to you is, if you are a guest there and you're on vacation, right? You're not local. What and you let's say you've been on the ride already, so this is not your first time. What is the maximum wait time you personally would wait to get on this attraction in a day at Magic Kingdom? Is this like I'm not getting on unless it's a under an hour wait, or what's your threshold here? You think
50 minutes to an hour.
50 minutes to it. Now, for context, you've been on Flight of Passage once or twice. You're back at Animal Kingdom for your annual thing. What is your threshold for time for Flight of Passage?
About an hour.
So is hour basically all the e-ticket attractions? You're not waiting, or is there any attractions that you would wait longer and then an hour to get on?
Guardians.
Guardians. And that's the only one I would pick also, because Guardians is truly probably one of the best attractions that's come out in the last like probably 4 years from a thrill point of view.
Guardians and Rise. I would say Rise is on that list for me too.
I wouldn't wait a longer than an hour for Rise, personally, but I would wait longer than an hour for Falcon, and I'm in a minority for that opinion. But there's no
I think
no
my
wrong
answer just I think my answer just now proves another point that I wanted to make, that I do think Guardians is a much better coaster than Tron is, and I actually prefer Guardians. But that doesn't take away from Tron and how cool that ride is, especially at night. I'll get to ride it during the day here in a week or so to see what that experience is like. So,
Well, let me ask you this now. So I want to move away from the ride and go to the queue in the show building before you get
mhm.
on. So how does that stand out to or compare to some of its contemporaries like Rise or Falcon or Mickey and Minnie's or Guardians? And now you have Tron as the most recent handful of attractions the last couple of years. So where do you stack that up with?
The Tron queue is Once you get inside the building, it is shorter than I would have expected it to be.
Oh, that's
A
interesting. I haven't heard
lot
that
of
take
the
yet.
queue, a lot of the queue, I think, is outside, but I also think I was sent in through the lightning lane side. But with pictures I've seen, I think there was only like one little switchback in the
Hmm.
indoor queue that I think I just missed.
Gotcha.
Um, so I can't comment personally on all the standby queue. But there's a lot of like the blue lights on the wall. The main thing about this ride is you are the blue team going against the orange team, and like there are things on the walls. There were a lot of blue lights, and kind of like you're going into the grid. If you've watched Tron Legacy, that's the Tron movie I would watch to very much try and get a sense of what the queue is like, what the music in the area is like.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of long lines at Tron because of the virtual queue. So I think you're mostly probably going to be waiting 40 minutes to an hour for the most part to get on when the queue's all
Yeah.
stacked up. Is that and when I did Guardians in December for the first time as a virtual queue, I've only done Lightning Lane previously or individual Lightning Lane. Um, the queue was okay, but it got kind of boring after a while because of all the switchbacks around, like the show pieces before you actually get to the showroom for the pre-show.
Hmm.
Is this queue going to keep your attention or kind of keep you from not going crazy as you're waiting for about 40 minutes before you get into the loading area?
I don't know if it will keep your attention.
Is it going to
Um,
drive you nuts? Is basically what I'm getting at.
so a lot of the main queue for the start is outside. Once you get inside the building, you're pretty much being sent right into the pre-show, if you could call it a pre-show. It's more kind of a reveal more than a pre-show,
Okay.
because like the screen kind of changes, and then you are looking at the grid and where the trains launch. Right at the start of the launch, that's where you'll look at.
Now I'm not picturing where the queue is outside, or is that completely under the canopy as you're going into the building? I can't think of it from the pictures I've seen.
It can go under the canopy, and then there's kind of a lot of switchbacks outside
Well, am I talking?
a
Are we?
little bit.
What I'm getting at is, are we getting to see a Toy Story Land remake where you're standing out in the sun most of the time, or do they haven't done a good job with providing some kind of shade, or is that going to be something that people are going to be complaining about this summer?
They do have the umbrellas in place,
Okay, that's
but
good.
that's all I kind of noticed. But also, I wrote it at night, so I wasn't really paying
Paying attention.
attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something to think about down the road. So one of the things that I've always complained about and wanted more from Tomorrowland is there needs to be even more kinetic energy. The people mover is great, but we need more lights, more decorate, because Tomorrowland was kind of the least cosmetic of all the lands for quite some time. But Tron adds so much to it. Can you talk to like how it blends in as you're looking at it coming from the hub, or you're coming from Fantasyland? Like, how does it look? Are there like blind spots? Is it look like? What's your general consensus of like how it blends in with your experience walking through the area?
I think it blends in well. Um, it's I would say it's definitely the most modern of the areas of Tomorrowland.
That's an
Um,
understatement, but okay, I'm with you on that.
I couldn't think of the best word to say with that, but I would I would wonder if this could be kind of a start to try and blend all of Tomorrowland into kind of what Tron is looking like. Um, I think Tron looks fine from like Storybook Circus, where they do have a path from Storybook Circus into Tron.
Hmm.
I think it blends well, and I'm happy that pathway is back open. For those that may not know, back in the day, you were able to kind of walk a path between Space Mountain and where Barnstormer is. So, kind of, I'm definitely glad that path is back in some way.
That's where everybody used
Um,
to smoke. That was like a designated smoking area back there,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it was.
Yeah.
It might have been. Yeah, it's been a long time though
Yes,
since
yes, it's true.
that path was there. But also, my main thing is I would like to see some sort of update with Tomorrowland Speedway to kind of like what they do for the Christmas parties. Maybe add some lighting there. Maybe change the cars up a little bit. Kind of to try and blend that area in a little bit more. That would be my take. Um, but other than that, I think it's fine. Maybe put some lighting on Space Mountain as well. I know it already has lights on it, but maybe add some of that blue
Yep.
lighting just a little bit to Space
I
Mountain.
I'm definitely with you on that. The one thing I really wish is that they could kind of tear up People Mover a little bit and kind of put it more around so it goes through the Tron area or around the Tron area. And less tracks zigzagging through the land so you can get a clearer view of Tron when you're coming from the hub, because it's you see the glowing blue, but you can't really see anything because of the People Mover tracks. It's an obstruction. So that's one thing you're contending with. But once you're in there, I've seen vantage point shots and it looks awesome. So I can't wait to see it when I get back there.
Yeah.
Anything else you
One
wanted to add about Tron before we move on?
one more thing.
Yep.
They do have mandatory lockers. You're not allowed to take bags on the ride. So make sure you store those bags in the lockers. There are literally, I think I saw at least a count of over 700 lockers.
Nice.
Make sure you remember which number your locker is, as when you get off the ride, it's kind of like Velocicoaster at Universal for those that have been. You put your items on one side, and when you exit, you are retrieving the items from the other side of the wall. So
So
make sure you remember that number.
that's a good point. If I'm wearing a backpack that's not overly large but not small, would that fit in the lockers?
They are larger than Universal's three lockers, definitely. Um, I would say so. My friend that was with me riding has a very large backpack and he had no issues.
Oh, well, there you go. Very good. Okay, so I want to move on to another thing that
Mhm.
opened up. I don't think it was today. It might have been yesterday. Was Enchanted Tales with Belle has now been reopened
Yay.
finally. Um,
Yay.
I think somebody in our Discord was asking, I never go with kids. Should I go on this too? And my first reaction to that was, of course you should go on it because it's an excellent show. They have really good effects. You've got characters in there, and you can kind of just sit in the back and let everybody else participate if that's something you don't want to get involved with. You just want to be a spectator. That's perfectly fine. And it's a cute show that's like 10 or 15 minutes long as you kind of go through the different rooms. Some really cool effects as you enter the front area and you're brought into the story. It's a really cool effect, and I think that initial effect is worth the wait in line completely because they do a really good job with that. Um, I know from your clapping, I was going to ask, do you like Distraction? Obviously, that you do. Then
I'm
what
happy to see I'm happy to see any entertainment come back.
Yes. But my question is, do we need more of these types of interactions around the park? Because it's on a ride. It's like, I can't remember. Is it 4 different sets or inside that story? It's like either 3 or 4, and you meet characters, you tell a story, and then off you go. It's rather inexpensive, I think. And would you like to see more of these everywhere?
I think it would be fun. Um, Maybe one in each of the parks in
Because
a way.
I think they were meaning for the now canceled Mary Poppins experience at Epcot to be something similar to this. And I remember reading some reports as New Fantasyland was being designed that multiple types of these experiences were going to like meet different princesses, that type of thing. I think this will look great at at each park. You can meet different characters and different experiences. Something like this for the Lion King would be pretty cool, I think. Doing something at Epcot if you want to tie in some of the DuckTale type stuff, and you can kind of meet them at the head of the park somewhere, or in one of the buildings, build something there. I think that'd be really cool. So for those out there that are waiting for this to get back, this is back and ready to go. And I don't think our friend Matt Pato has added this to the DCI because that has not been updated number wise, but this just opened today. So we're going to give them a break that it's not updated immediately. And one last thing I want to talk about before we get to our takes, we've done a 24-minute review and news segment, is that Genie Plus sold out for the first time as of 2/19 at Walt Disney World. And you were in the parks today. Were they super duper slammed? Because I know some of the other cast members on Discord have said Hollywood Studios was hot and heavy for most of this President's Day weekend. So, what do you think about this?
It's definitely been a busy weekend. I started my day today actually at Universal, and that had probably more than an hour wait for every single attraction at Universal. And then I made my way over to Epcot today, and it felt like a typical weekend in Epcot. I didn't ride any attraction, kind of looked around some of the wait times, the usual attractions in the evening in the World Celebration, World Discovery, and World Nature areas, since they all have different names now.
I'm
Definitely
going to have to get those memorized soon. I know it. I haven't yet.
have the typical, there were typical walk-ons towards the beginning of the evening. World Showcase definitely was busy, and I had friends with me that also commented how busy it was, but I figured it was like a Saturday, even though we're recording this on a Sunday.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So, since it's sold out today, do you think that it actually sold out, or is Disney actually now dropping the number to where it actually can sell out? Because they always said it could sell out, but I could, if I had to guess, I don't think there ever was a cap that it could be sold out previously. Then with the Q1 financial reports, they're worried about capacity and customer experience. Are they actually putting a cap on this now? Is that a change, do you think, just for better user experience?
Well, I do know there's always been a cap for Genie Plus. I think the main difference, because we've seen it sell out of Disneyland, unlike
Correct.
Walt Disney World now, with today being the first time. I think Walt Disney World has 4 parks, very strict still park hopping restrictions at 2 p.m. So with that, depending on the number of attractions, how fast the attraction times are selling out, I think that might make a play into when they say it's sold out. I'm not sure, but
The only reason why I say it is because it didn't sell out from Christmas to New Year's at all, and it sold out on a Sunday on President's Day weekend. So I would think that if something had to have changed, because it would have sold out at the end of December versus today, even though today is a busy weekend. That's my only question. I don't know anything about anything, but that was my first thought.
I will say this with my experience this weekend. I think the parks have been busier this weekend than they were between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, that's an interesting tip. I did not.
So,
I have to look at the stats, like go through data tomorrow and see how like the wait times were for the weekend, and kind of see if that your experience or your observation bears out on any kind of data that we might be able to grab.
At least it just feels like all of the parks were busy this weekend.
That's always the case these days, unfortunately. All right, so we're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to do our takes. We're going to pick overrated, underrated, and properly rated things on a list. And of course, I picked something that fired Zach up immediately.
Yes, you did.
Being a man of music, I found this randomly on Twitter or on Google somewhere. Caught my eye. Top 10 Disney songs according to Billboard.com. This is of all time. This is not just recent. And I'm going to give you their number 1 through 10 really quickly, just so you can idea what we're picking from. And the first one is We Don't Talk About Bruno. Number 2, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Number 3, A Whole New World. 4, Let It Go. 5, Colors of the Wind. 6, Beauty and the Beast. 7, Surface Pressure. 8, Circle of Life. 9, Go the Distance. 10, You'll Be in My Heart. So these are the songs that say, okay, we got to pick one of these songs from this. And I'm not so much saying, something is overrated because it's number 3 versus number 8. I don't really care where it is on the list. I just had the list was like 20 songs long, so I had to curtail it to 10. And that was basically it. So I'm going to go first with my overrated song. And for me, it was Let It Go. I remember watching Frozen for the first time on the couch in my very first home with my wife. And that came out, 2013? Did I get that right? Frozen, the first one? Somewhere around there anyway.
It's somewhere around there.
It's almost 10 years old, and that is the age of my oldest daughter. So we did not have if my daughter was born at the time when I finally saw it, she was an infant at the time. I didn't get the song. It completely blindsided me that this was a very popular song. It didn't really. I thought there was other catchier songs in the movie, but of course, it went on to be a blockbuster song, and just goes to prove that I don't have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff. But I always thought that was overrated. It's a great song. I just think it just got so much acclaim, and I just never understood why. All right, Zach, do you want to preface all of your selections with a statement before we go into any of these, or you just want to jump right into it on your side?
Really quick.
Yes.
On the Billboard list, I want to say A Whole New World and Beauty and the Beast were the end credit versions of the songs, not the in-movie versions of the songs. And
It's interesting.
So, with that, I mean, it's a very heated list in my mind.
All right, what's missing from the top 10 that you might be heated about before we get into what your overrated song is?
I don't know if I'm necessarily heated. I'm heated about the order, definitely, but
then what stands out to you on this list? Then let's get into it.
I will preface and say I'm definitely not the biggest Encanto fan.
Boo, hiss.
I know. I know. But even though I do like Lin-Manuel Miranda's work, especially, I just feel like Disney is known for movies and animated movies and certain live action movies, and with that have created this vast Disney songbook that in many ways shows feeling, shows the story, shows, and also can have a meaning outside of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a lot of Disney songs I would put in the top 10 that aren't on this list, like When You Wish Upon a Star, A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes. Many of the classic songs that Disney fans love. Shocked that no song from Mary Poppins made the list, but
I mean that's a fair thing, right? I mean, if we were to make my own list of my top 10 favorite songs, those songs would be on there just because there's nostalgia time to them. They're emotional. They have ties to them, but those are also songs people aren't listening to in their cars or driving, or at least the vast majority of people aren't listening off of a Spotify list or something else like that. But I mean, it just goes to show you, we don't talk about Bruno was played on every single radio station and playlist, throughout the world. And that's why it's on number 1. And this is basically just based on streaming numbers and stuff and money that's associated with soundtracks, and not like what's your favorite. Right. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I know Billboard made this list based on sales, streaming, and radio play. So, I mean, it makes sense that we don't talk about Bruno as number 1 on this list based on all of those things and how popular the movie was. But if you haven't figured out yet, my overrated is we don't talk about Bruno. I'm not the biggest fan of rap. I'm not saying there's a lot of rap in it, but it's the style that the song is. And I've listened to the song and
doesn't grab you.
It doesn't grab me. It's not like some of the songs on this list that I feel like, I know you're saying like you think Let It Go is overrated, but in many ways, like Let It Go has a story outside the movie of Frozen as well. If you were to just
Sure.
sing the song, I in my mind, We Don't Talk About Bruno is basically just continuing and furthering the story, but I don't know if it has personally, at least in my mind, or in my personal life as well, which is why I probably think it's overrated. It doesn't connect to me.
Well, that's fair. I mean, from you stating what your favorite songs are, there's other properties of Disney songs, like you just said before, that transcend the movie and kind of bring you to a memory that's outside the movie or anything else like that. I totally get that. Which is funny because I have my properly rated song as We Don't Talk About Bruno, because I think it's properly rated only because it's a catchy tune. You catch yourself kind of humming it, whatever. I'm not necessarily a giant fan of the song. I thought it was great. I've seen the movie one time fully and about 100 times in the background, and my kids watched it over the course of the last year. And my kids like the song. That's basically it, because it's high up there on the list, and I think it's worth it be properly rated just because it gets the kids kind of humming the song, that type of thing. So that's
I
why I have it
mean,
properly rated on my
you
list.
bring up a good point though too, because you know we all grew up with different Disney movies. I grew up with the Disney Renaissance,
Mm-hmm.
Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast,
Same here. Yeah.
with those films, and all amazing, amazing music scores. And I'm sure, maybe in 10, 15 years, we will definitely see how Encanto holds up, especially with this young generation right now. So, do you want a
Fair.
preference? Probably a lot of my opinions are based on, the movies I grew up with. And
I mean that's what Disney's all about, right? It
it
attaches
is
time of your life to music. I mean, that's what music is, right? As a
true.
whole, whether it's Disney or not. And I'll say this, though, as much as I loved all the soundtracks of the Renaissance movies, I still think Moana has the best overall soundtrack. We had this conversation a handful of times on Discord. And we're not going to go there because I know you want to. I see you kind of hopping out your seat, ready to go after me. That'll be a
I mean,
conversation for another day, I think, because
and I mean, with the
go ahead.
songs that are listed here too, especially with Encanto, I know Surface Pressure was number 7 on this list, and when I listened to it, I actually like that song more than We Don't Talk About Bruno. So,
That's my favorite song from the movie is Surface Pressure.
so so in many ways, like, you know, we could see how we all have different opinions and how this list can spark a heated debate.
Yes, I love it. That's why I put it on here because I knew we would have a debate about it. So, what is your properly rated song off of this list?
Well, I will
You
preface
debated a
that.
couple of these things
I,
here,
I
right?
did. I did. I very much did. I am very much wearing a Lion King shirt, and as we're recording this, and Lion King's my favorite movie. So I have to say Circle of Life is my properly rated. I don't know if I would put it at number 8, as I do like it a little more than Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which is number 2 on this list, but both really, really, really great songs. Um, with that, A Whole New World, I do like that version of the song as well,
It's
with
one of my favorite Disney songs.
Peebo Bryson, Regina Belle, and then Beauty and the Beast, the Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson version there. Another great recording of it, but in many ways as well, I sometimes would lean more towards the movie version than the songs that are currently on, or the versions that are currently on this list.
See, I ignored that part only because I think that's part of somebody's album and soundtrack, and then it got played because it had a different version of it. Because I think that's probably how we counted it. Let's move on to underrated, because I always think underrated is the most interesting one of our takes. So underrated for me was Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. I'm not a guy that likes these ballads and these soft songs and stuff like that. I usually, for like Disney songs, I love like the catchy tunes that have the highs and the lows. And this is more of a softer song, but it has I like it for two reasons. Only because Pocahontas, I think, is an underrated Disney animated film. I think not a lot of people give it credit for what it brings to the table. Two, my wife used to sing the song all the time to my oldest daughter when we were only a family of three instead of a family of five, and I love listening to my wife sing the song. It was great. And two, it's just such a really cool part of the movie. Like nothing, as dangerous has happened yet. It's, full of potential and hope. And it's just kind of, you get a sense of peace and a world without danger and a world that is clean and pure and that type of thing. So I kind of, that's what I think of when I hear this song. And that's why it's underrated, because I don't think a lot of people either listen to it. You ever hear it on any kind of Disney playlists other than maybe top 20 Disney movie songs, and that might be on there at that point. But for me, I think that's always underrated. For that's the one on this list. So, unless you have any other comments, what is your underrated song on this list?
Really quick, I will say "Colors of the Wind" is definitely a very beautiful song, and I am happy that it did make this list. Pocahontas has many songs and a very beautiful score as well. My underrated, the ninth song on this list, and a song that means so much to me, is "Go the Distance" from Hercules. In a time of my life where I was needing a song of hope and a song of a future, showing a path, I would definitely belt this song in my apartment, in my car, anywhere I was where no one else was around, and I would sing this song, and it definitely gave me a lot of hope. And kind of with what I was saying earlier, I just feel like "Go the Distance" is a perfect song that can be played without necessarily having to see the movie Hercules, and actually understand what the song is, or the
I
message,
mean,
what the message of the song is.
there's a reason why it's played in a lot of Disney medleys and shows. I mean, it's an extremely well put together song, and it's very inspiring, and makes you feel uplifted when you sing it. I mean, all the other the messages that you mentioned. So, why do you think it's underrated, though? That's my question. So, I mean, it has a personal attachment to you, but why did you put it as underrated? Is it just because it doesn't get the acclaim? Because it is in a lot of Disney, programming, right? So why do you think it's underrated? Just get a sense that Hercules is kind of like an ignored movie. You think it doesn't get the credit it deserves?
I mean, it kind of is. You don't
That's
really
fair.
see it anywhere outside of being played, or like the
Yeah.
movie being played, but like I can't picture a time I've seen really a Hercules in the parks, except for he was meeting during Oogie Boogie Bash at Disney
Mm-hmm.
California Adventure this last Halloween season. But outside of that, you don't really see much representation from Hercules, even though there's a little brief moment in Fantasmic now at Walt Disney World.
That's fair. No, I'm totally with you on that. As I've gotten older and I've rewatched a lot of the, maybe you could call them like post Renaissance Disney movies. Like there's the segment of Disney animation where it's post Renaissance and it's like pre like Tangled or something. There's like that little buffer space as it kind of transitioned to a new direction the studios are going for, and those are often forgotten in my point of view. But they still, I think, the hold up tremendously today. So that's really great. So let's go on. Just a reminder for everybody out there, our social media accounts. We're at the DBC Pod on everything: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. So make sure you catch us on there. In the show notes or anywhere on Twitter, make sure you click the link for Discord and join the conversation that's ongoing there. And you can see a lot of these debates play out in real time. I might actually post these top 10 songs like dangerously like on a Thursday and see what kind of fireworks we get out of it, because we usually do. Everybody loves to show their opinion, or they're probably going to be talking about this in the thread for this show. People are going to probably put this up there.
Definitely
So,
before the episode comes out, though, Jason, please.
well,
I'm
you want
interested.
to.
I want to know what everyone says before the episode comes out.
Okay, well then you take you copy paste it and you put it on there and you start the conversation because the episode's probably going to go up on Monday morning at around 8:00. So if you want it started now, just do it right now because it's going to go up in about 9 hours from now.
No worries.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the topic for the week, and this will be a short one because I'm being time conscious. So the topic is, how would you plan 2 full days on property with hoppers? And the reason why I came up with this planning topic is because my mother and I were hanging out last night and said if we ever want to go down for a weekend, just me and her, no kids, anything else, we're going to do a blitz of the area, the park. And she was at Disney World for a full week, a little bit more than a year ago, last February. I was there twice last year. So it's not like we are dying to see an attraction that we haven't seen before or we haven't been in 5 years. We want to do everything, right? So everything's still fresh in our minds. So we're not desperately needing to go like, I haven't been on Peter Pan in 6 years. I need to be on Peter Pan type of thing. So the caveat is you arrive the day before, you have 2 full days, and then after your 2 full days, you travel home. So you have 2 full days. You don't have to worry about travel or anything else. You have hoppers, and you're staying on a property, so you're available. All the transportation's available. How would you set up 2 full days at the parks to maximize your time, your enjoyment, and everything else like that? And to give you a moment, Zach, to think about how you want to preface this as somebody that's local. Maybe you can use your, what I don't want to give you an excuse to use Disneyland as an example or anything else like that because that'd be cheating. The way I did it, I was like, well, why don't we do all 4 parks in one day just to see if we could do it, but more of at a relaxed pace. And then the next day we do maybe 2 parks. You take availability of the hoppers and do that. And what we came up with, and I'm not satisfied with this, is we would start our day at the Magic Kingdom, kind of do everything that we could do, get out of that park before midday because that's when it becomes a crowded mess and the ride queues get longer and longer around that time of the day. And then we bust out, we head over to Animal Kingdom, and then we get a chance to walk around, do a lot of the major attractions, that type of thing. And then from Animal Kingdom, we go over to Hollywood Studios. I don't know, maybe we get a margarita, maybe we go to Mickey's and Minnie's, and that's it. Head over to Epcot, do a couple rides, have a good time, and then take the monorail back to the Magic Kingdom to now see the new Happily Ever After, because by the time we do this is going to be available. Thankfully, for those that are listening, Zach is doing a little happy dance in his room. He's excited. And then finish the day in Magic Kingdom and do any of the other major attractions that we missed. So all 4 parks in one day, starting and ending at Magic Kingdom. I don't know if we could make it, but it'd be fun to try. And then the second day, I couldn't decide what to do. In anything, we're ending up at Epcot for finishing the day off. In any case, I don't know where I'm going to start the day. We're ending at Epcot, but I couldn't pick what I'm going to do the first day, and it was late. We ended up retiring for the night, and I'm like, you know what? It's very unsatisfying having a imaginary Disney vacation planning session, which is some of the favorite things in my life to do is plan Disney vacations, and I couldn't come up with an answer. So I figured, what better than to ask all my friends on a podcast how they would do it. And so in your experience of 2-day vacations, which before the show you said that you have a lot of experience doing, so how would you plan a 2-day trip to the world?
In terms of staying on property, I would definitely choose a value like the All-Stars. I'm one person that I'm going to be in the parks from open to close. And with that, the cheaper the hotel, the better. I could get in that 30 minutes early to try and maximize some of those e-tickets. And I would actually make my reservations for each day. One day at Animal Kingdom, the next day at Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
For that reason, if I'm doing 2 days, I don't know if I'm going to get all 4 parks in. I would plan 2 or 3 attractions at each park that are a highly, highly, highly must do. Anything else is bonus.
Okay.
From there, so I would start in Animal Kingdom, and potentially after finishing Animal Kingdom, because that's a I mean, with my experience, a relatively easier park to get done by 2 or 3 p.m. In the afternoon. There you could park hop. I would say probably over to Hollywood Studios for me.
Well, let me stop you there. You're
Okay.
spending the reason why I did not do Animal Kingdom first thing, because you could get in there some days at 7:30 in the morning if you're staying on property. Because I don't think I need all the way till 2 o'clock to do things. I think you can get in if you spend a couple. I didn't mention if you could use Genie Plus or individual lightning lanes, but what I'd probably do is you get Flight of Passage, individual lightning lane, Navi River Journey is your first. GD Plus reservation, and then you could go and grab Safari and grab Cali and grab almost walk on Dinosaur in the morning and do Everest, right at rope drop type of thing. And you could be almost done with that park from an attraction point of view, not a show point of view, but an attraction point of view, probably before 11:30 if you really hoofed it around and tried your best. What are you in your mind? Are you not paying for those extra things because you're staying there till 2? So what's your thought process there?
In my mind, I'm not paying for Genie Plus.
Yeah, yes. Well, that saves you
my,
about an hour in that park. That's the only
like my
reason why.
my must dos for Animal Kingdom are Flight of Passage, Safari, Expedition Everest, Festival of the Lion King, and anything else in Animal Kingdom for me would be a bonus.
Unfortunately, I think you named every single attraction at Animal Kingdom. It needs
I
some
did
help,
not do that, but
almost,
but definitely almost. But
almost.
but with that, I know it's been a heated debate on previous podcasts, but Animal Kingdom is the best park at Walt Disney World, in my opinion. And that is why I would make a reservation for Animal Kingdom. To answer your question, why
Yes.
I would make a reservation for Disney's Animal Kingdom. And
I knew you would, but I'm pushing you there.
But it's my favorite, definitely. So I would park hop probably to Hollywood Studios or Epcot, and I would make that decision on one thing. Do I want to see what is currently there now, Harmonious, or do I want to currently see Fantasmic? Which option is there? I would also probably look at the weather, because Hollywood Studios is a better park for rain. Epcot isn't necessarily always the best park for rain, as there's not a lot of coverings, even though a lot of the attractions are still inside. And same with Hollywood Studios, but I would prefer more Hollywood Studios probably in the rain than Epcot, as there could be large gaps of walking in the weather. So definitely time of year might affect that. My second day in Magic Kingdom, I would at least want to end with Magic Kingdom fireworks. I would want to start in Magic Kingdom. If I do want to do all 4 parks, it's a quick monorail trip over to Epcot. I could briefly hit some of the Epcot things that I like to do, and then take the monorail right back to Magic Kingdom for fireworks. And then the next day, I'm all packed from All Stars and on my way back home.
So you're definitely doing no more than 2 parks in a single day, and you're satisfied. You do like 2 parks day 1, 2 parks day 2, and hopefully the matchup where you're at all 4.
Yes, but I wouldn't plan on all 4. It would kind of depend on just how the day is looking, how the lines are. And this is also too if I don't buy Genie Plus. If I do,
sure.
I could definitely maximize more by the individual lightning lanes. It depends what you want. It depends dining reservations, if there's certain restaurants you want to eat at.
Well, I mean, like, I was saying to my mom, I was like, you know what? I don't even care about Disney dining anymore. It's gotten way overpriced, in my opinion. At least some of the more expensive places that I used to like eating. Phil and I talked about this either last week or the week before. Too many restaurants are going to prefix menus where I don't want to spend $50 on a meal. I don't mind spending $25 on a plate. I just don't really feel like spending $60. That being said, yeah, I think personally, I think that's the way to go. But again, if I go in my scenario where I just like the challenge of doing all 4 parks. I had a great time with my wife doing it. I'm like, it was just really fun, because I think at that point, in the reality of our situation, not generic use situation, that's not even a word. is that, we've been on all the rides that want to be on within the last year. I think it's more of the experience of being at the parks and doing something different versus like, I need to be on XYZ. So I think that's the way we're going to do it. And then, okay, I want to wrap up the show with our top 3 this week. This is top 3 places to sit and eat a snack at Walt Disney World, because Phil is currently on vacation, and we were talking on one of the members of Discord was talking about how they're ready to go back to Disneyland and they wanted to book the trip, and Phil does not know how to chill while he's on vacation because all of his vacations are Disney World, where it's certainly not chill because it's always go, go, go. So I thought it was a perfect time to talk about places where you could actually chill at Walt Disney World and still kind of feel like you're not missing out, right? You're absorbing the magic in a different way, right? So the way I thought about it is, where do I like to sit? Where you can do people watching. You've got great background music. You got sights and smells, and it's a really cool place to relax. And it's a happy place for you. So we're going to go back and forth, Zach, with this one. And I'm going to go first with Sunset Boulevard and Hollywood Studios. There's a lot of benches that are along the road. I forget the name of the market, but there's a lot of covered seating over there in that area also, where you can get some quick service meals if that was something like that. I love working at Tower of Terror. I love the look of Sunset Boulevard anywhere up and down that area. And I just love being on there because it's not as crowded as the rest of the parks when the parks are crowded, and you can get it just feels good. I like it. And it's almost like, it's unfortunate in one way. It's almost like that park's Main Street, because it's better. I think that's the best part of the park right there. And it just doesn't lead anywhere. It has 2 attractions and a show and a fireworks amphitheater, and it dead ends, which is unfortunate. But I love that area. So that's the first place I'd go to sit and eat a snack. And I've done that almost every single vacation that I've been on to Disney World. So what's your number one? Maybe not number one. Well, what's the first one you thought of?
My first one I thought of is usually anywhere with water I like. And the first place that came to my mind, being a peaceful area, was the seating area for the Yorkshire Fish and Chips quick service in the United Kingdom at Epcot, kind of right along the bridge that goes between the UK and France. It kind of goes down underneath up to that water area. The friendship boat will sail right by. Great view of the water, great view of most of World Showcase.
If I remember correctly, there's a tree right there too, so it is shaded as well. I think, isn't it? Isn't there a larger tree, or am I thinking a little bit farther up?
It's more like the quick service seating location. They have like circle tables with chairs and umbrellas on the tables, and
might be thinking of a different section with the tree there, though. But in any case,
it's kind of a layered area along the water, just a little bit.
I sat there for a couple minutes in the first part of the day, and all I remember is, if you kind of close your eyes just a little bit, you could forget, or maybe not close your eyes, but if you kind of tune things out a little bit, you could forget that you're in the middle of Epcot, because you're far enough away from the main walk path so you don't hear people's conversations, and it's just kind of a gentle murmur behind you almost. And you're right, it's an extremely peaceful spot for sure. Do you like just sitting there with like a cup of coffee or something else like that? Is there something that you enjoy doing when you sit there, or is it just a place that you go and kind of take a break real quick?
Yeah, it's kind of just one of those places I just go take a break. Might get some fish and chips at Yorkshire there and peacefully eat. And I mean, there's been times I've sat there for an hour and a half and just enjoyed the view and enjoyed the scenery.
Yep. Because that leads me to my number 2 spot is the Dawa Bar at Animal Kingdom in Africa. Africa is my favorite part of that whole park. I love the entertainment that's in there. I love the food everywhere in that place. So I would love to be able. I like bringing food and kind of. You could probably get in there and have a snack as long as you order a beverage at the bar. I just love the seating area. It's shaded. It's never that crowded in that specific area, like when you're sitting at the bar or in the waiting area for Tusker House when you're right there. and it's so well themed. And I'm going to agree with you. Animal Kingdom is the best looking park out of all four for sure. I mean, if it wasn't super crowded, some of the times I've been there, I just do enjoy strolling, around and around that park for almost the most part until I get super tired. But Dawah Bar is my second favorite part that I enjoy just kind of hanging out at. And if I couldn't find a seat, I lean up against the wall somewhere and just kind of watch the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your number 2? Because this one I think is kind of cheating, but it's not.
Well then, I know everyone is always like, I need to get a Dole Whip, I need to get a Dole Whip, but I need to get it in Magic Kingdom. Well, there's a easier place, and usually a place that doesn't have as much of a longer line, and that is over at the Polynesian Resort over in Magic Kingdom. And if you want to get a quick break from the hustle and bustle of Magic Kingdom, take the resort monorail or the boat over the Polynesian. Get a Dole Whip from Pineapple Lanai, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Grab the Dole Whip, go take it, and as it's pretty much kind of a to-go window, and go over to the Polynesian beach. There's a lot of chairs set up there. Relax on the beach and enjoy a Dole Whip. I usually like to do this around the sunset time or the evening hours, especially if I want to watch the Magic Kingdom fireworks from the Polynesian beach. But it's definitely relaxing. As you're just sitting there, you'll hear the horns from the boats as they come and go. And
so when my wife and I were there last summer, we sat outside at I forget what it's called. It's
Captain
a quick
Cook's,
service.
Trader Sam's.
No, it's Trader Sam's, the outdoor deck there, and just kind of enjoyed the boats in the water, that type of thing. But when I was putting together this list or the idea for this list, I was thinking just parks, right? So that everything I have is basically park related. And I purposely didn't put a spot at Disney Springs that I really like kind of hanging out at. But that's why I said it was cheating, because that's just such an awesome spot to like hang out at the sunset or watch fireworks with a cool snack and that type of thing. I mean, I'm just jealous I didn't think about this, because this is an excellent
Well,
idea.
if you want a parks location, I will put an honorary mention of Nomad Lounge at Animal Kingdom.
See, I knew you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say that when I brought up when you saw me put down Dawah Bar for that. I knew that was lurking in the back of your brain there. My third one is a place I didn't discover it. It's a pretty popular place, but I discovered it personally. But it's only at a specific time. It's early morning. So if you go outside of Casey's, there's a bunch of tables laid out opposite the ice cream shop, and you're up against the wall. And if you get a good spot, I love grabbing a cup of coffee and a breakfast sandwich or something. Go to Friar Nook, get their breakfast sandwich, and bring it back here. It's a really good place to sit. You're shaded. You got obviously a great view of the castle because it's right there. And that's the part of the day where everybody is racing around and starting to tackling, attractions. So you could go into the park, do your rope drop, do whatever you want to do, get 1 or 2 attractions in, and then go sit there. I sat there. I think it was like 9:30 when we were in there. We had done, oh goodness, we had done Mine Train, and no, we had done Haunted Mansion and Pirates. We blitzed those 2 first thing. And we just relaxed for like a good 30, 40 minutes and just sat there, chatted, listening to the music, watching Main Street and the castle. It was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, that place gets ruined with crowds the later you get in the day because everybody's getting their hot dogs and finding a place to sit. But if you're there between 9 and 10, no one's sitting at the tables. It's relatively quiet. And it's absolutely an amazing place to kind of just sit. It feels like I'm at my local park and we're sitting down at a park bench and just kind of having a bite to eat or something else like that. So that would probably be one of my favorites.
I feel like that's always the classic place to sit, especially in Magic Kingdom. I know you say early morning. I usually like to be around there in like the afternoon, late morning, maybe when the piano player comes out.
That's
fun.
fair.
That's always fun to hear that type of music on that type of piano.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. My only point is I don't like crowds, so that's the only time where you can sit there and not be potentially crowded.
Very true.
That was my other point. So what is your number 3? What is your rounding up the top 3 places to have sit and eat a snack at Walt Disney World?
Well, it's another location in Magic Kingdom, but I am saying Storybook Circus.
This is
Now I know.
interesting.
Now I know everyone is now questioning me as why I'm saying this,
I am
but
questioning you right now in my head.
so there's Dumbo, the attraction Dumbo, Barnstormer, the railroad station. I'm not talking about that area. If you go further into Storybook Circus, there's a lot of circle tables with umbrellas. There's an overhang area where they have like fans blowing with different seating in there. I've seen a number of people napping in that location, charging their phones. There's charging stations there.
There's like
And
is the
it's
area the place where it's like a wood structure that's kind of basically 3
kind of
walls essentially?
it,
Yeah.
it's kind of by where the Donald, Goofy, I think Minnie and Daisy meet and greet is in
I know
Storybooks.
exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Chip and Dale like to sometimes frequent that area as well and do meet and greets, but it is actually very quiet and peaceful up there
And shaded.
and shaded. Um, so that I've sat there many times for hours. I've also watched the fireworks from back there. And no one is back there watching fireworks as they are literally being launched right above you. So if you can handle how loud it's going to be, it is actually a really cool area to watch the fireworks as well.
That's interesting. I'll have to. I mean, when you go back there, there's never anybody back there. Though there might be some more additional traffic there with the train station being open once again. But no, that is definitely a good spot. It's if you just want somewhere that's peaceful but still be in the parks and have that kinetic energy around you, that's a really good place. Not a very good place, I think, for people watching because it is almost secluded back there. So
A little bit.
if you want quiet, it's definitely a wonderful place to go. But if you want to be out in the hustle bustle, obviously it's tucked away kind of in the back. So it depends on what kind of sitting you want to have.
True.
But is there, now that I do remember, this is going back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was called a charging station back then. It had like signs for a charging station where you could plug in your phone. Is all that infrastructure still there where you can charge your phone? Like there's like literally plugs in the wall, if I remember correctly, from last time I was back there.
Yeah, that's still there.
Okay.
With my experience, not all of the plugs are working, but I think that you kind of play around with your charger to see if you could get any sort of juice going into your electronic device there. But yeah, I very much. It's definitely a different location, and also really quick though, in that the Big Top Tent, I think it's called, that store there, they do have like different sort of desserts, slushy drinks. So like you have an option to get snacks right by this area too.
And they have snacks in there that you can't get anywhere else because it's kind of like a chocolate shop type of thing in the center of that. If you've never been in there or looked at the offerings in there, so it's definitely a cool spot to be. All right, I think Zach, we got to end it there because I think we're now completely over the 1 hour mark. But I want to thank you for coming on and filling in for Phil. You've definitely added some awesome insight for Tron and Tomorrowland for those that are itching to get back and seeing that new attraction once it comes out in almost 40 days from now, somewhere around that time frame. Getting close. Just a reminder, everybody out there, our DBC engagement from last week, we're still continuing it on till next week because I know Phil was itching to answer this, so I couldn't talk to you about. I wanted to talk to you about it, Zach. If you don't remember, it's would you put another castle in Magic Kingdom if the main focus were a Villain's Land and how that would affect the park? And it's all balance. Phil was desperately wanting to get his hands on this question, so we're going to save it. So make sure you get on Discord and continue that conversation along. There won't be a new DBC engagement until next week, obviously, because this is a 2-weeker. That being said, everybody, thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.